right. Well, hi everyone. Welcome to this month's Graphic Arts Alliance webinar. I'm Nika Braceland. I am the Sales and Marketing Coordinator for GAA, and we're really pleased to be here with Jeff and Horatio and Lenny with Canon. And before we start, I just want to remind everybody to keep yourself muted during the presentation. And then we're going to keep questions at the end. If you think of a question, please feel free to write it in the chat. But we will get to the questions after the webinar. So without further ado, Horatio, Canon, Jeff, Lenny, it's all yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So I started working with GAA and Wendy back when we first introduced the contract. So I've been working with them closely, trying to, just get in front of the members, and try to help them out with information and what have you. And today, we're lucky to have on our call our production sales management team. So we've got Horatio Hamilton, who is our national director, national sales director for our production print solutions. We also have Lenny Bono, who is also sales director for Canon for our production print team. And also calling in from the West Coast, I have Tom Horan, who is also one of our sales management leaders for the West Coast. So anybody that has any questions or needs any kind of help with any of the Canon products for their print solutions, that's the team that can help you. And they have a full team of sales specialists underneath them that are more on the local basis and can work with any of the members at the local level. So with that, I will turn it over to Horatio. He'll take you through the presentation. So Horatio, it's all you.
No problem. Thanks, Jeff. I appreciate everybody's time today. Oh, wait, my camera's not on. That's I appreciate everybody's time today. A lot of things are changing in the marketplace. As Jeff mentioned, you have the senior leadership team for the production print side of the house for Canon USA. So there's a lot of different aspects of the team. Canon is a very large company, as you're fully aware. And, in the last 4 or 5 months, we've been working on a lot of different things, especially in the inkjet space, adjusting toner, launching a lot of different accessories that will facilitate a lot more automation in this space. And part of that automation really speaks directly to paper. Paper, as you all are fully aware, is the fifth color in the print process, right? It really is the variable that gives you the quality that you're looking for your customers and what their demands are. But as part of that conversation, or the key crux of this conversation, is the rise of paper costs. With the tariff situation, and even before, we were having a lot of the companies migrate and or merge or close mills and different things like that. So as the cut sheet prices change, cut sheet was pretty much flat in January, but as we see other things in that market change, such as the pulp manufacturers, the prices are increasing to create the ingredients for these different papers. So what we've seen is a steady rise between 5 to 10%, depending on the grade or which manufacturer. Sappi has seen some level of increase. You've seen, all the other paper vendors start changing some various different things. I know synthetic medias have been a rage here lately, and that's also having some increased price. 25% tariffs, we've all heard of this from coming from Canada. And that was effective February 4th. So paper is changing, paper costs are changing. And I think that's probably one of the biggest challenges in the commercial print industry is managing to those variable costs to be able to give realistic estimates on your pricing. So there was also an announcement about one of the mills potentially shutting down, and they've kind of backed off of that. They were one of the key manufacturers of NCR paper in the United States, and that has drastically changed as well. So there's a lot of different aspects of this, a lot of moving parts, but we are aware of the sensitivity of impacting everyone's businesses. And we're trying to make sure that we have tools that kind of help with some, not so much the cost, but reducing waste or making sure that your output is correct off of the devices. Next slide, Jeff. So this is a definite description of the letters that have gone out. Boise sent out information of a 7% increase, Domtar 5 to 8, Silvano 5 to 7%. These are actual letters that most of you probably seen from these vendors if you are using them. And it's a real impact, 7%, 5 to 8%. And when you're in a penny business, it really can impact what you're trying to do. Next slide. So as I kind of mentioned in the first slide, where we're trying to impact and increase productivity through automation is on your short run prints, driving, more print volume to digital versus offset, or even in that same vein, digital meaning digital inkjet, not just toner, in this space for short run. We have come out with a lot of different automation in the devices, in the new V series presses, and even some of the inkjet with media profiling. So we have, automated color calibration, inline quality controls, and all the inline finishing. What we're trying to drive it to is reduce print errors, reprints, waste, trying to cut that down to a very minimal amount and improve your color quality, your reliability on the products, and especially reduce your manpower, your labor costs, having to interface with the device all the time. Next slide. So advanced automation, what does that really mean, right? We have the ability to streamline your calibration. We have, the ability to automate some of your duplex registration and other things like that. So as we went around and looked in the industry, we wanted to make sure we came to market with things that help drive drive corrections to some of the issues or solutions to some of these issues. Print buyers today are demanding more and more consistency, even on their short runs. And, branding is still very important to a lot of the customers that are out there. But sheet to sheet, front to back registration is critical in your workflow, right? When you take something off, you want to be able to cut it, not have any excessive waste. Or if you're printing a booklet in line and you want to have it trimmed all three sides, having your registration in line, correct, know that you have a little faith in the equipment, that really drastically improves your turnaround time and the amount of time that an operator would have to interface with this product. Canon has done this from a built-in way to help with these and to ensure consistency of output sheet to sheet and also job to job. One of those automatic ways is what's known as multi-DAT. It reads 5 gradation patches on the intermediate transfer belt. So in our process, you're laying the toner and the image onto a belt that then presses it into the paper. So it actually lays down additional patches to read this while it's running and makes adjustments during the run to maintain your color consistency throughout the run. The advanced registration system physically squares each sheet. It's not a roller adjustment it's actually sensed the sheet size, squares it, and continues to print to ensure that the positioning is exactly where it needs to be from image to image. the ITB registration marks ensures each sheet is imaged in the same location. That's what, registration marks really help in the print process, especially if we're reading those. And there's also the anamorphic adjustments for the tight front to back registration, where it's a hard stop guide bar, where it's going to the same point every single time to ensure that your registration is consistent. Next slide. So one of the features that we recently introduced is called the sensing unit. And we can have it set up to automatically adjust color, tone, accuracy, front to back registration of a media type. And you do all this prior to production to ensure that you're going to get the most consistent output sheet to sheet. This also helps monitor the runs. It maintains these settings throughout the production process. So it's very effective. We've been able to actually even save a lot of time in routine things. When you get a new media in for a new client, you want to be able to make sure that you're going to get good output by profiling the media, also doing a front to back registration calibration. And this is all done fairly seamlessly in a very short period of time with the sensing unit. Previously, we would have to use a manual adjustment, which would take a few more minutes, probably about 10 to 15 minutes, where this takes about 2 to 3 minutes once it's started. And it really, really helps with that registration calibration. It literally will take, on this device that's shown here, it's the ImagePress V1350. This out of the box without the sensing unit, the front to back registration is a 0.5 millimeter. With the sensing unit and following the process through the media profiling and the front to back registration, it takes that duplex registration threshold down by half to a 0.25 millimeter front to back instead of a half. So it really improves the consistency and what you should expect from the device. It also helps with having dependable and predictable color. It keeps the first sheet looking like the last sheet. If you fail a calibration, it will notify you and you want to go back through and recalibrate the engine. All these things are built in automatically. So you can actually schedule the time that the device will do its calibration. If you are in a high production environment, if you wanted to be able to schedule it, one in the morning, one at noontime, one in the evening, if you so wanted to do it in that level of interaction with the device, it would be 2 clicks of a button on the control panel and it's off and running. Next slide. So I was going to say you skipped.
Sorry, jump on.
So as we go through this, right, the big thing on this is the registration and consistency sheet to sheet and job to job. That is, if we were to say there was any complaints on any of the zero graphic process engines that are out there, that is probably the biggest one, making sure that your color is consistent. From job to job, it will give you what you're looking for, especially for some people who want to standardize on G7 or some other color space to create and have a workflow around. This helps with that. And it gives you some consistent best practices for a operator. And we know challenges in manpower today. I know if you have offset and you have, people that work on those offset devices today, that segment of people is harder and harder to find. So being able to have best practices around how you get digital output out your shop will help improve your workflow, but also change the level of the operator that you may need. This also saves a lot of time, with it doing it automatically, or at least notifying the operator to do it, and then it does it automatically. It reduces the confusion on whether or not I followed the steps, whether or not it was done correctly, all of the advantages of that. And once again, it helps to ensure some consistency across your shop. Next slide. So we spoke to this previously, but this is the steps. All this is what it's doing before it goes into any production. If you were to profile a media, you're getting color accuracy on the desired media. It's measuring 32 patches, real time, adjusts the device, tells it that it's in check, and continues to run. The front to back registration, consistent image positioning, it's real time measurements based on the media type. Because a lot of things change when you get into 400 GSM weight paper, or you're hovering on the lighter end of things as well. Registration really makes a difference. And then also crossfade adjustments. That's the other side of the advantage of the sensing unit. It's not just reading these patches, it's looking across the sheet, not just in one specific area, not just looking at density. It's looking across the sheet, edge to ensure that the color is consistent throughout that process. And then secondary transfer voltage, we did not mention that earlier, but what it does is it looks for ways to increase the amount of transfer voltage to ensure the correct amount of toner is being placed onto a sheet to give you the best color quality and consistency in your process. And that comes from doing the media profiling with the sensing unit. Once the profile is loaded and it's using it correctly, it will increase the image quality on that media moving forward. I think that was the last slide, Jeff.
Yeah, that was it. Thank you, Horatio.
I know I said a lot. I probably didn't breathe very much during that. Sorry. Do you guys have any questions? I would hope you have some questions. Any questions on that?
If there's any questions, anyone can write it in the chat, or they can unmute themselves and speak up and ask away. While we're waiting, I did have a question.
Yes,
With
ma'am.
the advanced registration system, I wanted to ask, with the adjustments, the positioning, was there any type of feedback that you received that really stuck out to you?
As far as once we launch this item on the machine?
Yes.
So yeah, there's a couple things that stuck out, especially in the the booklet making capability of the engine. We have varying different types of booklet makers. We have a square fold option on the standard Canon booklet maker. Out of the box, the Canon saddle stitch booklet maker is a 25 sheet, 100-page booklet maker, and you can add square fold and 3-knife trim. Once we had the sensing unit in line and we're doing a mixed media job, we found that the productivity of the engine went up slightly, where you weren't waiting a significant amount of time between sheets for it to run a mixed media booklet job. And then you got almost perfect booklets out of it, where you're not worried about the top not being trimmed correctly or the face not being trimmed correctly and having to make any adjustments. Those things really stood out on the output once we added the sensing unit to a device. And then also, if you're having a specialty media that you're trying to do, say a trifold or a corrugated box, so light packaging application, taking that sheet with a barcode off and then going to a digital die cutter or anything like that, we found that the consistency was much better, and the result, they didn't have as much waste, not as many mistakes. So those are the two things I would say were the biggest, noticeable attributes of having this accessory now.
Great. Great. And I did have another question, but if anybody else has a question, you can unmute yourself, write it in the chat. I did, are you seeing big shifts in the types of jobs printers are running on digital versus offset due to the paper costs?
yes and no. It depends on the paper itself, right? So the challenge has always been when you get into your coded medias and your double-sided coded medias and having image consistency play out from there, you're noticing shorter and shorter runs on that type of paper. So the digital is far more impactful in that space. The customers who were ordering, 500 magazines or 500 books is now only ordering 250. So that's the biggest shift I've seen is the number of or the quantities of what the customers are asking for, or at least that's what the print shop owners are telling us, is what we're seeing in the field. That those numbers are shrinking.
Hmm. And with the rising costs, is anything for is impacting digital packaging or label printers specifically?
Not really. I mean, labels, a lot of them are government mandated, right? So there's no way to get around that. But packaging is going to be packaging. I think packaging is the next booming segment for this side of the house, where digital will impact packaging more and more as inkjet is more available. The thicker medias are now more available so that you can do short run packaging for a lot more people.
Great. Great. Well, Jeff, Tom, Lenny, Horatio, did you want to add anything else? We really appreciate having you here today.
The only thing I would add is, Canon as a overall company is trying to ensure that, the production space, especially this space of commercial printers, are successful. And we're banking on the success of this industry or this segment of our industry. And if there's anything that we can do to learn more or figure out best practices that will benefit you more, those are things that we would love to hear about. So it's more of a question back to you all of what else would you like to see from a manufacturer like Canon to improve your businesses?
Yeah, that's great. And we do have for anyone that wants to speak directly to anyone on Canon, Jeff's information is in the contract summary. I can also give Tom's information and Horatio's information, and Lenny is on here too. So without that, I would just really like to thank all of y'all for being here today and for Canon for just giving us a really great webinar. We really appreciate it to be here with all of our members. This, like I said, I can get anybody's contact information and send it out if you want to speak directly with Canon. This webinar will be on the member portal. So if you need to go over something again, you can definitely look at that on the member portal. But other than that, we just want to thank you, and we really appreciate you being here today, and we will talk soon, and I hope everyone has a great rest of your week.
You too. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you so
Thanks.
much.
You're welcome.
Thanks
Bye-bye.
to the
Bye-bye.
members for attending.
Yeah, thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye-bye now.
Bye.